Okay, now we're going to get into the fun stuff of this part 3 video series. We've chosen the state, which is Missouri, that we want to hunt in. We've chosen a couple areas that we want to hunt based on some research that we did. Now we're going to look at those areas in depth and figure out where we want to go do some scouting, and in the end, where are we going to want to put our stand to kill that mature buck this fall. So first things first, you want to look at these areas and you want to figure out where other people are going to go. So by doing that, we're going to want to mark all the parking areas on both of these places. We're going to go through, mark all these parking areas. Also, you want to make sure that you do some research on the property lines, because sometimes, like Google Earth, for instance, isn't going to have everything marked. And specifically, they're not going to have refuges inside of these places marked. So I'm going to go look at the maps that the state has and look at these places. And I figured out that these two places both have refuges that have no hunting in them. This place here, this place here, this place here. No hunting in those places. And I also figured out that there was a little area down here that Google Earth didn't have mapped that's actually part of this wildlife area. And it looks like a pretty good area. And if you wouldn't have researched that, you would have never found it. So we've marked all the parking areas. That's great. That's everywhere where we can drive in, park, and go hunt. So everyone else can do that as well. So the next thing we want to do, and this is a trick you can only use with Google Earth Pro. So make sure you get Google Earth Pro. It's free now. You don't have to pay for it. I go in and use their measure tool and make a circle. You know, just make a circle. And I make half-mile diameter, actually mile diameter circles. So they're a mile all the way across, half-mile from the parking area, circles around all these parking areas. Okay, so this is going to tell me where 3/4 of the people that are hunting are going to be hunting. They're going to be hunting a half-mile within these parking areas, these designated parking areas. So you can see this area has a lot of spaces that are a half-mile away from parking areas, and I like that. And specifically these places where you got to get across a river, you know, use a canoe, something like that. This area over here, oof, that is ugly. You can park and walk a half-mile and be a half-mile away from a different parking spot. So this area over here, you can just go ahead and not worry about it. But there is one area over here, all this stuff up here, that you're a pretty good ways away from the parking areas. So that's an area that we can show some interest. So after doing that, you're going to want to first get rid of areas. So, you know, this area is going to be all duck hunting. There might be some places, you know, out on these points that some bucks bed, and you don't want to overlook these types of places because other people might be overlooking these types of places. Somebody might not think, well, a mature buck isn't going to bed out here where everybody else is duck hunting. But don't be that guy. Be someone who thinks, oh, well, maybe there is. So you want to try to find these areas that are A, overlooked, and B, far away from where everyone else is going. So this area here really interests me. One, it is a long ways away from any parking. Two, it's landlocked and waterlocked. There is no way to get to this entire section other than by boat. This is a big area. I'm going to say this is over 1,000 acres of bottomland. You can't get there unless you have a boat. So if I'm going to come hunt here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find a boat launch. For instance, a bridge right here where I can get my canoe in the water. And make sure to check with you know, the state's regulations. But I'm pretty sure that Missouri is a state where if it's navigable water, you can get there. And I am going to take my canoe in and possibly use a boat ramp inside this, place here to get to this area. And I am going to get my boots on the ground and try to find some deer sign. You're automatically going to think, okay, well, here are some crop fields. Deer are going to be feeding here and potentially bedding out of this swampy type area. And if you know anything about finding beds, I'm not an expert. Get on the Hunting Beast and figure it out. Watch Dan Infalt's videos. But if I know anything about his videos, he's going to come scout these transition areas here. And he's going to find an area, like a little point like this, where there's going to be some bedding on these transition zones between the hardwood and the swamps. So, I'm not going to go into real in-depth of, areas that, we're not going to sit here and I'm not going to show you what a funnel is. I'm pretty sure you can figure out, okay, well, that's like a funnel right there. So, I'm not going to go into depth on that, but that's my process. This is an area that I would love to go scout. And if I ever hunt Missouri, I'm going to go check this area out. So that's my process, how I go through this. It's kind of vague, but hopefully it kind of helps you get a start on your next DIY hunting trip. Thanks for watching.